Do you have a problem with tiles in your shower area and are worried that they could deteriorate, causing costly issues in the future? Then come along with me and I'll show you how to possibly fix the problem while rejuvenating the look of your bathroom. Let's go. Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. Welcome back to the channel. And so today I'm with my friend Father Pavel.
Hi guys, welcome Musa.
Thanks Father. So Father reached out to me back a few weeks ago and said he had some issues in his residence, if I could just have a quick look. So the first thing that I noticed was his 3 shower areas were deteriorating, and they're all different to each other, the problems, but they're all actually fairly easy to fix. So the first one is this one here. So we have grout missing, and water can and is going behind the tile, which is going to cause some issues in the future and cause those tiles to come off. And so we need to fix that and rejuvenate it. And we're going to use Davco's Rejuvenation Grout, and we'll show you how to do that. But also the shower head is just a basic one, and it's adjustable, and it just keeps flopping down and falling. Plus, I believe there's a bit of leaking coming from them, and that's usual for that type of shower head. Now, the second bathroom, we have actual tiles lifting off the ground. Now, they're lifting because these tiles have been tiled on top of old tiles. Now, you can do that, but you've got to prepare the surfaces really well. If not prepared well, then they will lift off. So in this case here, it's a second story, so the floors are timber and they're moving, causing some movement within the tiles. So what I'm gonna have to do there is actually resurface those tiles and then glue the top tiles with primer, and then I'm gonna use Ultraflex, Davco Ultraflex, which allows a bit of flexibility in the tiles. And so the third bathroom, we have a soap holder, which is ceramic, that it's broken. Now, the bathroom, or this house, is roughly about 35, 40 years old. I'm not sure exactly. And it's very hard to match tiles when you go that far in time. And so I have located a tile that's similar, and I'm very happy with it. So I'm going to remove the soap holder and just put it back a basic tile. So there's a lot of work to do, not very hard, and just need a bit of time. So Father's going to now change into his work clothes, and he's going to give me a hand. So Father Pavel is also known as Father Paul. So we're going to start in Father Paul's shower area, and we're going to remove some of the loose grout. So this lower area is worse affected. Okay, so with the Davco Rejuvenating Grout, they say that you can only use between 1 to 3 mil in thickness. But in this case here, it's not too bad. So what we're going to do is just take out all the loose grout. So I've got my grout remover. This is for a 3 mil spacing tile. So you do get 1.5 mil tile spacing sometimes. This may damage the ceramic or the edges of the tile if you're using that. So be careful what you're using. This is perfect for this situation. So all I'm going to do is just take all the loose grout out. So that's basically about 1 millimeter now. I'm happy with that. Now, if you're not able to get into certain areas, I do sometimes use a Stanley knife and just slowly cut in, and that's fine as well. But be careful, because behind the tile usually is waterproofing membrane. And so with waterproofing membrane, if you go too deep with your Stanley knife, you can actually cut your membrane. So you be really careful not to put the Stanley knife too deep. So it's just basically just to take some of the loose surfaces off. And so we also have grout missing on these internal corners. But you don't grout that. These days, fair trading through the Australian standards say that you need to put silicone, a neutral curing bathroom silicone. So I'll be doing that as well. Okay, so now I'm going to get Father Paul to continue on for me while I go into the other rooms and prepare them. Okay, so now I'm in the other shower area, and you can see here where all the tiles have come off. Initially it was just one, which was this one here. You may be able to see on camera, this still has a bit of the glue residue. This one has none. So this has been loose for a fair while, and so we need to fix that up. So what I've done is gone through and just checked to make sure are any of the other tiles loose, because this is the time to take them out. That one there's loose. So you can see that there, how easy that came off. Now the reason they're falling off in this area, because they're close to the waste. So the water is basically just sitting in this area. And you can see a cracked tile just there. That tells me that there's a lot of movement in this bathroom. And you can also see as evidence cracks in the grout everywhere. So first what I'll do is just prepare this area. So I'll have to just clean these tiles up, take all the glue back off them, but also I'm going to have to grind this surface, make it actually a proper surface to glue the tiles to. So usually if you are going to put tiles on top of each other, you need to roughen that surface. If you don't, this will happen, and especially in a wet area where water can get in. So one of the biggest killers in the building trade is silicosis. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do a lot of grinding of tiles or any kind of masonry, that you use a mask. And I will be using some earmuffs as well. Okay, so you can see it gets pretty dusty in here. So yeah, just got to keep your mask on. I will put this back on in a minute. And you can see that's resurfaced it all. It looks really, really good. Okay, so we've cleaned the tiles. Father's given me a hand. We've done all of them. There's 6 here. And we've also cleaned this area. Father's vacuumed this all up for me. And this, you can see all the scarring. Okay, so now I'll just put primer. Okay, so that's pretty quick and easy. We'll let that dry and we'll come back in about half an hour. Okay, so now we're in the 3rd bathroom, and you can see here where the soap holder is broken and it's quite dangerous. So the way this broke, when someone was using the shower, they slipped and they put their arm on there, put their weight, and it broke. Now, luckily they didn't cut themselves, but now if someone slips in the shower, they will cut themselves. So we really do need to remove it. It's probably not so popular these days putting these soap holders in bathrooms, and especially in showers. So what I'm gonna do is replace it with this tile. It's almost the same color match. It's about 1 tone lighter, and it's just slightly bigger, but I was lucky to find it actually. So I'll just put that on the side. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this soap holder by actually breaking it. So I'm actually going to physically smash it. Now I'm not going to smash too hard because I'll break the Villa board behind and possibly the waterproofing. So I've got to be very careful with that. So the Australian standards through fair trading say that if you damage waterproofing in the shower area, you have to redo your bathroom. You have to re-waterproof from the ground up. So we're going to be very careful not to do that. So I'll just give it a quick hit and we'll try to remove it safely. And there we go. Pieces will come out. And there we go. So just a gentle hit around. And there we go. Okay, so now I'll just clean the grout out of the sides, being careful not to damage the other tile. So this bathroom is roughly about 35, 40 years old, and back then they weren't using waterproofing so prevalently, so there is no waterproofing on this. A bit of a shame. I can't do much about that, unfortunately. I will put primer back and then I'll glue it back. All right, so that's now primed. We'll give that half an hour and we'll glue the tile back. Okay, so the primer is now dry, and so we're ready to glue the tiles back on. I did forget to mention earlier that the grinder that I used is a Makita. I find them really good grinders. So now the glue I'm going to use is Davco Ultraflex, which I mentioned before. So this glue has particles of rubber in there. I believe it's recycled tires. But anyway, it's a really good product. I've been using it for a long time and I've never had a problem with it. All right, so now I'll just mix some water into it, not too much. You'll find with the rubber in there, it doesn't tend to take to water straight away. So you just got to mix it in. And there's nowhere near enough water in there, but I'll put more in a second. Okay, so just put a little bit of time. You don't want it to be too wet. So if you're doing this in a large quantity, I'll usually do it in a bucket using a drill and a mixer. Okay, so you can see how that's creamy. That is really nice. I just might make it just a slight bit more wet, but not much. Okay. So once you mix this, then you leave it sit for about 5 minutes and come back and mix it again. And then you're ready to go with it. Okay, it's 5 minutes. Just give it another mix. You'll find after 5 minutes, it goes a little hard. And then when you mix it, it goes soft again. Okay, so I'll just put the glue on. Now with the trowel, I'm only using a 6mm. One thing also to mention, fair trading say that you need to cover your floor area or your wall area by 95% of glue. So you need to put a fair amount of glue on the floor or the walls. All right, so that's done. So I don't tend to put much glue around the outer parameters of where I'm going to put the tile, because when you do put the tile down, it will ooze into that area. All right. Okay, the height feels good. That trowel height was perfect. Yep, perfect. So this one here is the cutout for the waist. Okay, just a little bit low there. Okay, just going to put a little bit more in this area just to prop that up so we can get a nice fall into the waist. And that's better. Beautiful. Just watching out for lip in here, so there's one tile is not higher than the other. All right, so that's looking good. There's a little bit of lip in there, but that's got to go deep into the waist, so I'm going to leave that as it is. You tend to get that where the waist is. So I'll just put my spacers. Okay, so that's done. I'll leave this sit now for around about 4 to 6 hours, and I'll come back and grout it. Okay, so now this is dried and we're ready to put the tile on this one. Okay, that's sitting nicely. The thickness, there's no lip in there. Okay, so these tiles are 1.5mm spacing, but this tile is slightly bigger than these. So I'm going to use wedges instead to get the thickness or to even it out. Okay, so now we'll just let that sit around 4 to 6 hours and we'll grout that. Father Paul's done a great job. He's taken all the loose grout from the floor and also from the wall. There was a lot missing from the wall, had to be fixed up, and he's done a great job. He's also taken all the grout out from the internal corners. The reason we needed it all out because we're going to put silicone deep inside. And he's also vacuumed the floor, making a clean surface, so we can now put the Davco Tile and Grout cleaner. Now with this cleaner, you need to put it a 10-to-1 mix. So 10 parts water, 1 part solution. And so then you just wash it on with a sponge, but you've got to quickly wash it back off with warm water. Okay, so I'll just do sections at a time. You can see it actually frothing up, so it must have some kind of chemical reaction to it. Okay, so that's all done. We'll let that dry up and then we'll put the Rejuvenation Grout. So this grout comes in a couple of colors. So we've chosen one that's similar to the walls, but we couldn't get exact. So it should still look okay though. Okay, so it does say in the instructions that you need to have the grout at least 1 mil thick. So now, and it also says that you do only 1 square meter at a time and then you wipe it down. It only takes 10 minutes to dry, so it's very quick acting. I will be using the rubber applicator. So this is the grout applicator. It's really important to use a tool like this because you won't be able to push it in properly without it. I can see. Yeah, that's why it only takes 10 minutes. It's very hard to put on. So remember when you do put the grout on, go different directions just to squeeze it in properly. Okay, so the instructions say that you need to rub it in. So once you wipe it off, you rub it in with a sponge. when you are wiping grout off, it's important that you have a big flat sponge and just hold it flat to the wall and just run it down like that. And you'll see that it's still got some residue on there. Okay, so that's all the walls done. So while we're waiting for the grout to dry in Father Paul's shower area, we're now going to go into the second shower and grout the floor. Now earlier I had Father Paul clean out all the grout, and for some reason that grout came out too easily. I'm not sure why. So it went all the way down to the lower tile. So now you can't use the Rejuvenation Grout if it's more, or not recommended to use, if it's more than 3 millimeters thick. So in this case here it's like about 10 mil. So we're going to use Davco Sanitized Grout, which is the standard grout. And we'll use the same grout in the third shower area for the soap holder. And so we'll leave it on for around about 20 minutes and then we'll wipe that off as well. Okay, so the shower area is now dry and we're ready to do the silicone, and I will be using Sika silicone. Now Sika is actually related to Davco, they're the same company. So I like to use the same products, so then the warranty is valid for the waterproofing. So from the primer to the waterproofing to the tile glue to the grout and then to the silicone, the whole 5 relate to each other. So if there's any issues, I can go back to the company for warranty. So now I'll apply the silicone. So I first will cork it on, and then I'll wipe it off after spraying with water. But I do use this particular product called Paint Partner. It's a great product. It has 10 different type of shapes. This one here I'm going to use number 4. So what I do is then clean the silicone off with this after spraying it with water or a soapy water, and it gives you a nice finish. Okay, so I'll just apply it. Try not to put too much on. Okay, so now I'll just spray it with water. Okay, so with the rubber, all I do is just place it to the edge at 90 degree and just wipe that off. And as you can see, there's no residue going anywhere. Okay, so before I go up the wall, I'm going to continue the base. So I need to do all the floors first and then work my way up. Okay, there we go, look at that, so easy. Okay, that's done. Now we'll do the shower head. Okay, so this is the shower head. It's very basic, so you can actually direct where your shower's going and how high you want it. So I'm going to put something similar back, but this one's made by Dorf, and Dorf is a really good brand. And so these ones here have serrated screw edges. So this one here is not screwed with a wing nut. When you have wing nuts, you can over tighten, which actually damages the seal and it causes it to leak, and plus it falls too easily. Okay, so first we just take the shower head off and we just screw it off. It's quite easy. It shouldn't be too many turns. Okay, so the next thing now, we just take the plate, the cover plate off. And so clean all that Teflon tape off because we're going to put a brand new one over it. Okay, so there's a bit of an issue here, which I've identified. Now, you're supposed to put silicone around the number 19 pipe, around the brass pipe, because if any water does leak, it's going to spray inside and go down. So I'm going to do that now. And this is quite a large opening. There we go. All right, so now we've got silicone inside. We're ready to put the new shower head on. All right, so just put the cover plate over and you put the Teflon on. Now with the Teflon, there's a bit of a trick. You hold it tight on your left hand and you let it roll under the tape. Okay, so let it roll under. Make sure you push that plate back as far as you can. And once you've gone one lap, pull it tight. And I'm going to go around 7 to 8 times. Now the reason being, if you just do only a couple, it will leak. So I'm going to try to ensure that doesn't happen and make sure that the Teflon doesn't go into the outlet areas. As I said before, these are really, really basic, so easy to put on. So all you've got to do now is just marry up the thread, the nut of the actual shower head, and just slowly turn it until it starts to catch. And that's it. It's turning, and don't over tighten it. It's really not recommended to do that. I'm using this as a leverage don't pull too hard. Okay, so I'll just stop it at the right angle, which is there. Now this will flop at this point because it's not adjusted. So all you do is just tighten this up. They're made where they will not over tighten. And so that holds beautifully. That looks fantastic. I'm very happy with this product. It's actually the first time I've used it, but I researched it and I found that this is probably one of the best of the basics. Okay, so now I just turn the water on, make sure there's no leaks. It's all done. Father, what do you think?
I'm so happy.
Fantastic. That was not that bad. It wasn't that hard to do.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I could work together with you.
It's fantastic. I enjoyed working with you. Father's father was actually a carpenter, so he's pretty good with his hands. So the only thing I did find was a struggle was actually putting the rejuvenation grout on. It's actually really thick, so it's probably best to pre-mix it and then put it on. I did put a little bit and mix a bit of water into it just to make it a bit easier, but it's suggested not to, okay? And you need to take it off really quick. And again, you need to do it 1 square meter at a time. And so it hardened like a rock. That is really good. So Father did a great job doing all the preparations. And it made it easier for me to put that on. I think it was great. And so it's very important to make sure you wipe it all off. You will have some residue the next day, but it's important to wipe most of it off. And so we're going to go through later and we're going to wipe that residue off on all the bathrooms. So if you're interested, I will put a link below in descriptions of all the products I used, including the diamond disc that I used on the grinder, which is a great tool. So I'd also like to thank Rebecca behind the scenes who helped make today possible. So the last thing I'm going to do now is change the shower heads on the other 2 showers and we're done. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any comments, please leave them below and I will get back to you. And I'd ask if you please consider to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video, and there's many more to come. Thanks guys. Thanks Father.
Thanks, Musa.